Life is still a game. It has always been a game, and it remains one today. The rules have not changed, though the playing field looks different than it did in my time. The same spiritual laws that governed success and failure decades ago are operating now, with the same precision, the same inevitability. But I see many of you struggling with this game today. You face challenges I could hardly have imagined. Your minds are pulled in countless directions. Your days are filled with noise, with demands, with endless streams of information that tire the soul. You seek success, but feel further from it than ever. You want peace, but live in perpetual motion. Let me tell you something that may surprise you. The very complications of modern life make the spiritual laws more important, not less. When everything around you moves at lightning speed, you need an anchor. When voices clamor for your attention from every direction, you need to hear the one voice that matters. When opportunities multiply but satisfaction seems scarce, you need to understand the true rules of prosperity. The first rule remains unchanged. Your word is your wand. Every word you speak goes forth as a decree, shaping your world with invisible but undeniable power. Yet today, I watch people scatter their words like seeds in a hurricane. They complain about their work in one breath and wonder why advancement eludes them in the next. They speak of being overwhelmed, and then marvel that more pressure appears in their lives. Your conversations have multiplied. You speak not just to those in your presence, but to invisible audiences through devices I never knew. You write messages that travel instantly across continents. You broadcast your thoughts to hundreds, sometimes thousands. Do you realize that every word, every message, every casual complaint or celebration is setting spiritual law in motion? Consider this carefully. When you declare that your job is unbearable, that your boss is impossible, that success is reserved for others, you are not merely venting. You are planting seeds in the fertile ground of your subconscious mind. That faithful servant takes you at your word and proceeds to create more unbearable situations, more impossible people, more reasons to feel excluded from success. But the same law that binds can liberate. I have seen people transform their entire professional lives simply by changing their daily declarations. Instead of saying, "I hate Mondays," they learn to affirm, "Each day brings new opportunities for my good." Instead of dreading their commute, they began blessing their journey and declaring it peaceful and productive. The external circumstances followed the internal change, as they always must. The second rule is equally vital. Your imagination is the scissors of the mind, cutting pictures that must eventually appear in your physical world. What are you cutting? What images occupy your mental workshop throughout your busy days? I notice that modern life provides you with countless pictures that are not of your choosing. Images flow through your entertainment, your news sources, your casual browsing. Many of these images are of disaster, conflict, scarcity, and fear. If you passively accept these mental pictures, you invite their corresponding experiences into your life. But you have a choice. You can deliberately select the images you allow to take root in your imagination. When you catch your mind dwelling on worst-case scenarios at work, you can redirect it to picture successful outcomes. When you find yourself visualizing rejection or failure, you can consciously replace those images with scenes of acceptance and triumph. One of my students, facing a difficult period in her career, began spending 10 minutes each morning picturing herself in her ideal work environment. She saw herself appreciated, well compensated, and creatively fulfilled. She held this image with the same attention others give to their worries. Within months, an opportunity appeared that matched her mental picture with startling accuracy. The law had responded to the image she persistently held. The third rule addresses a challenge particularly acute in your time. You must learn to distinguish between the voice of infinite intelligence and the countless other voices competing for your attention. Intuition has not changed, but the noise around it has increased dramatically. Your ancestors might have heard one or two human voices on a typical day, plus the voice of nature and the still small voice within. You hear hundreds of voices daily. Experts offer conflicting advice. News sources present alarming possibilities. Friends share their fears and frustrations. Social conversations buzz with opinions and judgments. In this cacophony, the gentle voice of true guidance can seem impossibly faint. Yet, it is there. And it is the same reliable compass it has always been. Learning to hear it requires what your busy world discourages: stillness, silence, moments of withdrawal from the external chatter. I encourage you to create these moments deliberately, not hours of meditation, for I know your days are full, but brief interludes of conscious listening. Before making important decisions, before accepting new opportunities, before reacting to challenges, pause and ask, what does infinite intelligence counsel? Then listen, not for complicated instructions, but for the simple knowing that arises when the mind grows quiet. A businessman I knew faced a choice between two career paths. Both seemed equally promising to his analytical mind. The opinions of others were divided. But when he sat quietly and asked for guidance, he felt a clear pull toward one option, though he could not explain why. He followed that inner direction, and later discovered that the other path would have led to financial ruin. The voice within had known what his reasoning mind could not foresee. The fourth rule concerns the law of supply, which operates as precisely now as ever, though your relationship with money and security may feel more complex. Prosperity is still your divine right, but it comes through spiritual law, not through anxiety or manipulation. I see many of you trapped in the exhausting effort to create security through control. You work longer hours, take on more responsibilities, pursue multiple income streams, all while feeling increasingly insecure. This is because you are trying to solve a spiritual problem through material means. True prosperity begins with the recognition that your supply comes from infinite source, not from employers, clients, or investments. These are merely channels, and when you trust the source rather than the channels, new and better channels can open. Begin by blessing what you already have, however modest it may seem. Gratitude is a magnet for increase. When you complain about your current income, current position, or current living situation, you create resistance to improvement. When you bless these conditions while working toward better ones, you allow prosperity to flow freely. I knew a woman who worked in a position she considered beneath her abilities. Instead of complaining, she decided to bless her work and do it with excellence. She praised her small salary and declared it the foundation for greater abundance. Within a year, she was promoted twice and received opportunities that amazed her former colleagues. Her change in attitude had changed her relationship with prosperity itself. The fifth rule addresses what you call relationships, though I prefer to think of it as the law of love in action. You live in times when human connections can feel simultaneously infinite and shallow. You can communicate with people around the world, yet feel profoundly lonely. You can share your thoughts instantly, yet feel deeply misunderstood. The spiritual law governing relationships has not changed. You attract what you are, not what you want. If you seek loyal friends, you must be loyal. If you desire appreciation, you must appreciate others. If you want to be understood, you must practice understanding. But in your rush to make connections, many of you forget this fundamental truth. You focus on what others should give you, rather than on what you can contribute. You judge people quickly, criticize them freely, then wonder why your relationships lack depth and harmony. Try this instead. For 1 month, bless every person who enters your life, whether briefly or significantly. The difficult colleague, the impatient customer, the distant family member. Silently affirm, I bless this person, and see only their highest good. Watch how this simple practice transforms not only your relationships, but your entire experience of the world around you. The sixth and perhaps most crucial rule for your time concerns what I call the discipline of attention. Your attention is your most precious resource, more valuable than time or money, because it determines what becomes real in your experience. Where you place your attention consistently becomes your reality. If you focus primarily on problems, problems multiply. If you dwell on what you lack, lack persists. If you repeatedly rehearse past failures or future fears, you invite more experiences that match those mental patterns. This has always been true, but your generation faces unprecedented competition for attention. Every moment, forces are trying to direct your focus toward fear, scarcity, conflict, and dissatisfaction. These forces are not necessarily malicious, but they profit from your anxiety and discontent. You must guard your attention as jealously as you would guard your home or your health. Decide consciously what deserves your mental energy. When you catch your mind returning to worry or resentment, redirect it firmly toward gratitude and possibility. Create what I call mental boundaries. Just as you would not allow strangers to rifle through your personal belongings, do not allow every stray thought or external suggestion to take up residence in your mind. You have the right and the responsibility to choose your mental diet as carefully as you choose your food. The final rule I offer you today is this: the game of life is won not through struggle but through alignment. When you align your thoughts, words, and actions with spiritual law, success follows naturally. When you fight against these laws or ignore them, life becomes an exhausting battle. This does not mean passivity. It means intelligent cooperation with forces far greater and wiser than your individual will. It means speaking words that heal rather than harm, holding images that inspire rather than discourage, listening for guidance rather than relying solely on personal opinion, trusting the law of supply rather than hoarding from fear. You live in remarkable times, full of unprecedented opportunities for expression, service, and prosperity. The same spiritual laws that created miracles in biblical times are available to you now. The same infinite intelligence that guided our ancestors is guiding you still. But you must choose to play by the rules. You must choose to speak life-giving words, to nurture empowering images in your mind, to listen for divine guidance, to trust in abundance, to love unconditionally, and to guard your attention carefully. When you do this consistently, you will find that life stops feeling like a battle and begins revealing itself as the magnificent game it was always meant to be. A game where you cannot lose, because you are playing with divine laws that always work in your favor when properly understood and applied. Start today. Choose one area where you will begin applying these principles. Perhaps it is your work life, where you will begin blessing instead of complaining. Perhaps it is your relationships, where you will practice seeing the good in others. Perhaps it is your prosperity, where you will trust in infinite supply rather than clutching what you have in fear. Whatever area you choose, begin with your words. Words are still your magic wand, as powerful today as they have ever been. Speak only what you wish to see increased in your life. The law is listening, and it will respond exactly as it always has, with perfect precision and unfailing justice. The game is waiting for you to play it properly. The rules are clear. The outcome is certain when you follow them, and the prize is a life of joy, abundance, and perfect self-expression. This is your inheritance, your birthright, and your immediate possibility. The game begins now.